As a young kid, I was always pretty weird, pretty emotional, a bit of an eccentric, anxious kid. I don't remember having any really close friends or any people that I spent all my time with other than this one shitty friend. When I was 10, my mom passed away. I don't think I was really old enough to process it properly. I understood what happened. I was old enough to remember my mom and remember the before and the after, but I was too young to really figure out how to emotionally work through it, and so I kind of just left it to the side.
As a kid, I generally kept to myself. I wasn't a particularly social person at that age. Spent most of my time reading, playing with action figures, keeping to myself. I always had a friend or two, but never I wouldn't say that I was a popular kid. My relationship with my mom when I was younger was difficult. I was less aware of the difficulties there when I was young. It became more apparent when I was a teenager. But certainly, in the last few years of my parents' marriage, there was clearly a lot going on there. I think I was about 9 years old when my father left the house. And I wasn't really aware of what was going on. I didn't understand that my parents were splitting up. It was something that I couldn't really comprehend, to the point where when we were leaving Germany, I didn't understand that my father wasn't coming with us until we got on the airplane without him.
Going into my teens, I was moving around. That was most of my life. I went to 4 high schools, so I didn't really have a chance to make really good friends. As soon as I connected with anyone, I'd have to start all over again. It affected how I made friends, it affected how I found community, it affected every part of my life.
Being social definitely looked different for me in Calgary. For those first several years, I generally would only have 1 or 2 friends that I would see on a regular basis, and from that point on, things kind of started to become a little more difficult to manage just everyday life. I got drunk for the first time when I was 13, and after that it was a regular part of my life.
In the 10th grade, I was outed to a very homophobic school. That was pretty brutal. It was probably the only time I found out we were moving, and I was happy about it. It's very limiting coming out as a queer person in any small town. There's no real sense of physical community, which is scary. When I was coming out as a lesbian for the first time, I didn't even know that I could question my gender identity. And when I was questioning my gender identity for the first time, I didn't know that there was more options than just trans or cis. There's not a lot of representation out there for queer people, and so when you don't have that physical community, you don't really have any information at all.
I was 18 when I left Calgary and moved to Toronto to live with my dad and my stepmom. At that point, I didn't consider alcohol an issue until it reached a point where I was getting too drunk too often, and I was not a high-functioning alcoholic. That's a term that I used to describe myself many times in those years, and still pisses me off anytime I hear somebody say that they're a functioning alcoholic. There's no such thing in my opinion, but I had convinced myself that that was what I was doing, that I was doing fine.
I moved here for university back from British Columbia. Didn't know anyone at the school, didn't know anyone in the neighborhood. And I very quickly threw myself into a toxic relationship. It took me a really long time to realize how toxic it was. At the time, I was very enamored, very happy. I thought I was happy. I thought things were going great. I thought the beginning of our relationship seemed very positive, but I definitely wasn't actually happy.
Everybody could see that I was not well, and hit a low point that I didn't realize you could feel so that fucked up.
I was so busy with school all the time that once I wasn't busy with school, I realized that all of my free time was his, and he felt very entitled to that. Just kind of kept going down this path of the more I pulled away from school and work and all these other things that were becoming overwhelming, the more he was taking control of my life.
All right, how did we meet?
I feel like how we met is that's not an easy question.
I remember seeing Jasper and being like, oh, that guy's really fucking cool. I don't think I'm cool enough to be friends with him.
It was just like we met, and then we were friends, and then we were closer, and then I don't remember what happened, but...
We became whatever this is.
Best friends, platonic life partners, like I didn't know him, and now he's my best friend. This group of friends, like, we are a family. We support each other through everything. The same way biological families stick together, we stick together through everything.
If you've chosen to make someone family, then you're gonna be there and they're gonna be there. Not in a, like, you have to be there, but, like, you want to.
We treat relationships, I think, differently than a lot of people. Our relationships with our friends are just as meaningful as any other significant relationship we have in our lives. And all of these people are so important to me and to you and to us.
If I hadn't found this family, I'd probably still be a raging alcoholic.
If I hadn't found our family, I probably would still be in that toxic, abusive relationship, because the only reason I realized it was so bad is because I met these people.
When I quit drinking, they didn't push me to make any changes that I needed to make eventually. They accepted me for where I was at, gave me the support and the space to be whoever I was at that time, and then gave me just an unquestioning support to make the changes that I needed to when I was ready to.
I've become so much more confident. I don't experience as much shame anymore because I know that these people won't hold judgment.
We're all on the same page when it comes to what is important, what we have the most respect for and what we have the least respect for. We can all kind of seem to agree on that, and it all kind of comes together to form this support group that is fucking powerful.
One of the first times that I really felt like these were my people, it was the first time I'd worn a skirt in 3 years, and without even like batting an eye or messing up once, every single person referred to me with he, him pronouns for the entire night. And I cried tears of joy that night. I'd never felt so, just without any question, without any hesitation, just immediately so accepted by these people. Family is the people who are there for you, whoever that is.